Good morning.
Good morning.
So our topic today is pay it forward. Have you heard this phrase before? I bet you have. And what does it mean to pay it forward? Let me tell you, in Ernest Holmes' book here, Living the Science of Mind, he has a little chapter talking about you are a spiritual broadcasting system. Do you know what a broadcast station is? Some people may not, because we forget. We have radios that have broadcasting stations. We have TVs, and there's broadcasting stations that send out the programs, right? Well, we are spiritual broadcasting stations. And so we're sending out, we're broadcasting what we want in life, whether you know it or not. Ernest says in this book, we are all broadcasting stations, whether we know it or not. Our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our faiths and fears tend to make an imprint on our environment. We are receiving sets, but it does not follow that we must tune in to every program being broadcast. So that's important. Everybody is broadcasting through their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, their actions. And we don't have to tune in to everybody. Because you know, when you look at your radio dial, there's lots of stations, and some of those you don't really care for, do you? You may not want to hear this particular station or that particular viewpoint that they're talking about. So you tune in to the ones that you want to hear. So we're giving as well as receiving those broadcasts. And to me, that's what paying it forward is about. Choosing how we're going to broadcast and what we're going to broadcast. Many of you may be aware that in the year 2000, there was a movie that came out by the name of Pay It Forward. This movie, I think they spent like $40 million to make the movie, and it made like $55 million, so it wasn't like a huge box office thing. But now I read that it's kind of a cult film. And so it's kind of funny because it's like, well, maybe New Thought is the cult, because look at what they're saying in this movie. The movie has this social studies teacher, and he wants to give his class a challenge. And so the challenge for the year is, for extra credit, you pay it forward. You do something that's going to make a difference in the world. Now, this is a class of 11-year-olds. You can imagine the moaning and groaning when he gave this assignment. They didn't have to do it. It was just for extra credit. But you know, if somebody says you can get extra credit, don't you want to do that? Most people do. But this seemed really hard to these students, and no, they didn't want to do that. How stupid is this? And one of them said, well, I'm only 11. What does the world expect from me? So what's your excuse? You're only how old? And what does the world expect from you? Interesting. One little boy in the class kept thinking about this. And what does this mean? Now, the definition of pay it forward is that you do good deeds, they're repaid to somebody other than the original benefactor. So somebody does something good for you, you go do something good for somebody else. You're not giving it back to the person that gave it to you. You're giving it out to someone else. So this little boy was thinking about this. And he's listening to his classmates that say, this is too hard, I can't make a difference, what can I do in the world? And he comes up with this theory. And that's the picture, and he wrote it on the board. He showed his classmates here. Here's what I'll do. If I go out and do something good for 3 people, and then I ask them to go and do something good for 3 other people, this is how I'll make a difference in the world. And so, think about that. If you go out and you help 3 people this week, and you ask them to do something good for someone else, 3 other people, all of a sudden there's 12 people there that you're helping. Did you expect to do that? So it really incrementally changes the world. It changes the vibration of how we live and where we live. And as we're out doing for others, we make our own lives better because we're broadcasting what we want to receive back. It's also called the law of reflection. What we give out, we receive back. The law of cause and effect is another way to say that. We're causing good things to happen in our lives because of how we're living and what we're doing with our lives. I thought it was interesting in the movie, this little boy says, you can't plan what you're going to do. You have to pay attention. You have to watch people because you never know when somebody's going to need help. And this doesn't have to be anything big and major. I mean, it can be. The beginning of the movie starts at the end of the story where this guy throws keys to a brand new car to this guy that's just wrecked his car and says, take it. And so the whole movie is going and tracing back, why did that guy do that good deed? And it's traced back to this 11-year-old boy who said, I can make a difference in the world by helping 3 people and having them help others. So it's very interesting that we may never know, and probably will never know, all the good that we do in the world. But we want to do it anyway. Because it's not about knowing what we did. It's setting that vibration and that intention for our world to be good. To change our lives by helping others change theirs. So this little boy said, watch people. Pay attention. It may be holding the door open for somebody. I saw one video when I was researching this where the lady's getting ready to get on the bus and this older gentleman steps off the bus and he drops these papers and all these papers go blowing. And she misses her bus because she stops to help him pick up all of her papers. And there's people on the bus that are watching her. They know what's going on. And they didn't ask the bus driver to stop. Could they have done something to change the world? So pay attention. Look at what's out there. What do you want to do? And how do you want to show up in the world? I think that's so important. Another thing that I loved in the beginning of this movie, the teacher, when the kids are complaining about, well, this is too much, I can't do this. He said, take something that you don't like about the world and flip it upside down. And then he said, the realm of possibility is in your mind. Now to me, I thought, that sounds like a pretty good science of mind philosophy, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. The realm of possibility is in our minds. If you can dream it, you can do it. So think about what you can do. Pay attention to what's going on in your life and what's going on around you. Now, a lot of us think that Pay It Forward started with this movie in 2000. But what I found is that this is really an old concept. And even probably before this, but in 1916, a lady by the name of Lily Hardy Hammond wrote a book called In the Garden of Delight. And in that book, she says, you don't pay love back, you pay it forward. You don't love somebody back that's loving you. Well, yes, you do. But you really take that love and you pay it out to other people. And if you think that by loving other people, you're going to deplete the love that you're giving to someone else, you're wrong. Because there's always more and more love. We are made in the image and likeness of the divine. And the divine nature is givingness, is love, is reaching out, and it's unlimited. So the more we give, the more we get back. The more we give, the more there is vibrating around us that makes our lives better. How cool is that? good, right? An anonymous spokesperson, so Lily Hardy had this concept in 1916. In 1944, an anonymous spokesperson for Alcoholics Anonymous said in the Christian Science Monitor, "You can't pay anyone back for what has happened to you. So you try to find someone to pay it forward." And that's our 12-step philosophy. When we recognize that we have been given so much, then we give that out to others. We share with them to give them the support that we've received. Also in 1944, the Heifer Project was developed. Don't know if you've heard about this or seen this. I get the brochures. The Heifer Project is where you can buy animals that are given to people in third world countries, and that's how they create their income. And so you can buy a few goats or some sheep or cows. And my family did this one year. That was a Christmas present that we gave to everybody, was we were each donating to the Heifer Project and giving different animals to people in third world countries. Are we going to know how that's helped somebody? No. But shouldn't we do it anyway? We don't always have to see the outcome. So this is a concept that's been around for quite a while. I also think that as we look at paying it forward, it's really about conscious action for good. What are we doing with our lives? Some people would say this is random acts of kindness. I'm sure most of you have heard of that. There are organizations that do random acts of kindness. I think it's the Boy Scouts, but I wouldn't swear to this. But I know that there is a life philosophy, and it's campers as well, that say, always leave the place better than you found it.
And Girl Scouts.
Girl Scouts, thank you. I wasn't a Girl Scout, so that's probably why I didn't know that. But what a philosophy. You know, you come into a campsite, you always leave it a little cleaner than what you found it. And how about the place you work? You always leave it a little better than what you found it. When you go to visit somebody, you might pick up a few things that need to be picked up. You leave it a little cleaner than what you found it. You're going out for a walk and you see where somebody has discarded a bottle or a wrapper of some kind. You pick it up and you throw it in the trash. You leave the world a little better. And that's a random act of kindness. That can be paying it forward, because you know there may be the time when you're having a party and somebody walks by your property and they pick up things right before your guests get there and throw them away. Who says that can't happen? Mindfulness practices. We talk a lot about mindfulness nowadays, but that's being here now. It's being present in the moment. And that's what this little 11-year-old boy was saying. You can't plan this. You have to watch people. Pay attention to life. Be awake and aware. And when those situations present themselves, seize them. Do what you can do. There is a lady that I saw on the internet who was disappointed, we'll say, in how the election campaigns were going. This was before Tuesday. She is a mom, stay-at-home mom, has a child, and her husband's working, and she said, one of the things I realized I could do is I could help the world by starting a new campaign. And my campaign slogan is, make America kind again. And so she created yard signs, make America kind again. She created tote bags. She created all this stuff and started selling it on the internet. She said she was sold out in a couple weeks. I was overwhelmed by the response, she said. What kind of ideas can we have? Make the world kind again. Isn't that a great message to give? Yes, look it up. I bet she's made some more totes because she sold all of them. But how wonderful to look at ways that we can make a difference. Even if you make a difference for one person, it's worth it. Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world. And so what do we want to see? What kind of world do we want to live in? That's the kind of world that we create for ourselves. That's how we show up. You want a friend? Ernest Holmes says if you want a friend, you have to be a friend. Now, when I was reading in Science of Mind textbook this week, what I found out is Ernest Holmes said that because he was quoting Emerson, and Emerson is the one that said, if you want a friend, be a friend. I thought, well, there I've learned something. Show up as you want the world to be. Volunteer. There are ways to help in the world. Many, many organizations need volunteers. And if you can't find one, let me tell you, you're sitting in a celebration service of one that can use volunteers. Because there are lots of volunteer opportunities here at CSL Palm Beaches. Talk to me. I'll be happy to share some of those. Talk with Reverend Marcia, with Rick. We'll all be happy to share because there's lots of ideas. We've kicked around a few of those. One of the things that I was sharing with Reverend Marcia and Rick this week is the very first center that I was in. One thing that I found a lot of the women there really liked was they would sign up for 1 month at a time to create the altar. And they would bring in their beautiful scarves, their little knickknacks, their pictures, things that they meant a lot to them at home. And it would go with the theme for whatever that we were doing that month, or the season, whatever it was. But they loved creating the altar. And so it wasn't a competition. It was, oh my gosh, how beautiful is this? So there's lots of ways that you can participate, that you can volunteer, and you don't have to be up here the one holding the microphone and speaking. Lots of ways. So talk to us. We'll be happy to help you find those things. Remember that the realm of possibility exists in your own mind. So what calls to you? What calls you to your higher self, to your greater being, to creating the world that's going to work for you and those around you? When you're paying it forward, you're not keeping score. It's not, well, somebody did something good for me, so I better go do something good for somebody else. Or, how many times have I done something good for you? Why aren't you doing something back for me? We're not keeping score. It's how we live our lives. It's our intention to show up, to be love, to be peace, to be joy. Whatever you set as your intention there. And so how exciting is that? We're not keeping score. We're paying it forward. We're giving it out. And we know with certainty that whatever we give out, we're going to see back because we are broadcasting stations. And the law of reflection comes back to us. I have a slide here. I'm not going to read these to you, but you can read them. I found this on the internet, and this was the Namaste Cafe. I love that name. Different ways that you can pay it forward. So you see there's lots of things that you can do here, and the list goes on and on. One of the things that struck me is a song by Janice Stanfield. And I just heard this recently, and the song goes, I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. How wonderful is that? I cannot do all the good that the world needs. But don't be discouraged by that, because the world needs all the good that I can do. So whatever we can do, don't we want to do it? Don't we want to make the world a better place? A world that works for everyone, and a world that embraces us because of of all the good vibration we're putting out. I have a video I'm going to show you. Hopefully this will work. And I want you to pay attention to how this young man moves through life. It's about 3 minutes, so it's not real long. It's actually a Thai commercial from Thailand. It's a life insurance commercial. I found, Google this, Thai commercials. They have all kinds of messages, and they're good messages. And so this is, I'll be upfront with you, it's a Thai life commercial, but listen to the message. See how this guy moves through life. Now they will speak in Thai, Taiwanese, whatever you call it, but there are some subtitles. But just watch the action of what's going on, and you will see how this gentleman moves. It's not about the words that's being said, it's about the action. And in your life, what do you desire the most? Are you paying it forward? Are you expecting to see the good? Are you living to see happiness? I know you're feeling emotions, whether you like the ones you're feeling or not. Do you feel the love? You can receive what money can't buy. And you can make the world a more beautiful place. Believe in good.
That was the last phrase on that commercial. Believe in good, and I say, and pay it forward. So my challenge for you this week is to pray that Spirit will bring to you three people that you can do something good for. Something that they're not paying you back for. And then ask them to do something good for three other people. Okay? Make a difference in the world. Pay attention to what's going on in your life. Find people, because they will show up. And if you pray that Spirit brings them to you, you'll be awake and aware to see them. And then do the good. Pay it forward. And I know that your life will be much better. And you'll be more joyous, more happy, and feel the love. Namaste.